Hi, welcome back to Mimi and More, where today we're going to talk about the cost of doing nothing in paradise. What do I mean by that? If you watched last week's video, you know that we spent 25 days in Isabela, Puerto Rico as part of a stop along the way on our slow travels. And what we found out was that doing nothing, which is really what our options were in this small sleepy town, really did cost us more than we were kind of prepared to pay. So I want to jump right into it. If you're new to the channel, thank you for joining. If you're here from before, thanks for coming back. This is a channel about being over 60, where we gave up everything we own to travel the world full time, and we're documenting it for you here to let you know in case you want to consider it, or if you're just curious about a particular city. Hopefully we're giving you some information on it. So when I say we, I mean myself and my husband Raphael. He prefers not to be on camera, and I'm sort of respecting that, and so you just get me as the face of the duo. So here we go, let's jump right in. Okay, so we spent 25 days in Isabela, Puerto Rico, which again, I'll put it up on the map, is on the far western side of the island, on the north side. And Isabela has beautiful beaches, there's no doubt about it. We just ran into someone just a couple of days ago while we were in Madrid, and we mentioned that we had been in Isabela, and without fail, the first thing he said was, oh, the beaches are beautiful. So we are very well at beautiful beaches in Isabela. So please don't knock me in the comments section about how I didn't appreciate the beauty, because we did. But it was a sleepy little town without a lot going on for me, where I need to be a bit more active. So here we go. What do we spend all of our money on? So the first thing was accommodation, which is always usually our highest cost. And for 25 nights in Isabela, we paid $2,356, which comes to roughly $98 a night. So we were already kind of far over budget, just walking in the door, so to speak. I try to look for a month-long stay under $2,000. That's sort of been my parameter. And honestly, the first couple months that we've been traveling, I've been able to accomplish that with no problem. But Puerto Rico just did not, or this part of Puerto Rico just did not. I couldn't find anything that fit our needs for less than what we paid here. Now, the place was great. It was a 2-bedroom, which we didn't need, but we had a 2-bedroom. It had a wonderful couch and comfortable. The beds were comfortable. It was fully air conditioned. Nice bathroom, good kitchen, but it was just expensive. So again, $2,356 a night just to lay our head on a pillow and watch some. Well, we watched a lot of TV because we didn't have a lot to do. Next, airfare. So I always use a portion of the overall flight that got us to the first country that we started the leg of travel in, and so we proportioned it out, and that part of why can't I talk? The part of the flight that was attributed to the Puerto Rico leg was about $330, but we spent a total of $1,095 on airfare, and that was because we had to get to Puerto Rico from Merida, Mexico, which was just not as simple as I wanted it to be, mostly because we were staying on the western side of the island. If we were just flying to San Juan, there were quite a few options of flights, and it wouldn't have really mattered what time we arrived. But because if we had flown into San Juan, we would have not gotten in, no matter which way I sliced it. It was going to be a 7 or 8 hour day just to get into San Juan, and all the flights were putting us in at night, and then we would have had to get a car or find a transportation across the island, and it just was not working. So we opted instead, and this is where all the costs came in, we opted instead to fly back home, or back to the US, I should say, into Miami, and then spend a night in a hotel, and then which I had a free night, so that was fine. And then from Miami, take a flight the next morning to Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, which is about 15 miles from Isabela on the western side of the island. So our costs were, well around $600 or $700 to do all those flights, and you can fly across the world for that same amount of money. So it wasn't really that great, but it is what it is, right? Okay, moving on. Groceries. Groceries were $644.45. Groceries were not that inexpensive in Puerto Rico. You know, a lot of stuff is imported, as you can imagine, and we cooked at home a lot because it's just what we did. So when you break it all down as a cost for the overall 25 days we were there, it wasn't really that bad, but we did spend $644 on groceries. We didn't eat out much, but we somehow still managed to spend $374. Honestly, please don't ask me how we spent that, because I can only remember 2 restaurants that we ate at. The first night we were there, and then some friends popped up to see us that were on the island, and we went out to an early dinner with them, but I don't really know where we spent all this money on, but evidently we did. So $374 on some kind of eating out restaurants. We spent $370 in transportation, and that was only on 2 things. The taxi from the Aguadilla airport to our Airbnb was $50. And then we spent $320 on a rental car because I was just so bored. I just needed a car. I just wanted to be able to ride around and open up our area a little bit so we could see and do a little bit more. So we just said, hey, you know what, we're here. We'll bite the bullet. And we needed to get back to San Juan, where we were getting on a cruise ship. So that sort of attributed to part of those costs. If we would have had to hire a driver, who knows what, we would have probably spent $150, $200 to get across the island. So $320 for a rental car to be able to use it for a week and then get ourselves across seemed actually not unreasonable. So again, transportation, $370. And then somehow we have $296 on other shopping. I can tell you that $20 was where we played miniature golf, which was, you know, a big activity for us for the day. We spent $48 on Raphael's favorite category, which is pastry and bread. And then the balance was for some personal care items. I found the best hair dye for a redhead in the dollar store in Isabela, Puerto Rico. I'll talk more about that when I do a whole video for you on beauty on the road, which hopefully I'll get to that soon. But, you know, we did, you know, bought some potions and lotions and a little more sunscreen if we needed it and things like that. So anyhow, $296 on a bunch of stuff that, you know, who knows what it is. So what does that total up to? Well, you know, we're on a budget. We're trying to do all of this travel for $60,000 for the year. And so that puts us in at $5,000 a month or $164.38 a day. Now, so that means our budget for Puerto Rico for the 25 days that we were in Isabela was $4,109.50. Our spend was $5,137.56. $5,137.56. And that meant we spent $205.50 per day, which is $41 a day over our budget. So it was a lot, right? It was a lot. And what I used to say to Raphael was that when we woke up in the morning, we had already spent $138 without feeding ourselves, you know, clothing ourselves, entertaining ourselves. And that was just for the $98 a day Airbnb and then all those flights that I had to account for to get to our destination and then to get out of Mexico over to Puerto Rico. So again, we were almost $140 spent when we opened our eyes every morning. So just a lesson learned, as I said in the last video when I just talked about Isabela, Puerto Rico, that, you know, I think island vacations are great. I think they definitely serve a purpose. I think, especially with full-time travel, if you're doing a lot of go, it's nice to have that break. But this was just an expensive location that we went to. And then I wouldn't have minded it so much, but I didn't have enough to keep me busy. So it was just a big miss. And, you know, just added, you know, an extra over $1,000 to the budget, or to our spend rather, that, you know, I really would have been great to have to spend in other places. So live and learn. We survived, and obviously I'm here to tell you about it. So I hope you got some information about what it cost to stay in this particular Caribbean destination. I'm not saying don't go. But certainly do your homework on what it's going to cost you to get there, and then what type of person you are. Are you good with just doing nothing, going to a beach every day, reading a book? And if you are, then it's great. But if you need more activity, really think about what the destination affords you. In the meantime, we'll see you soon where we talk about our next destination. And in the meantime, find some joy. Travel as much as you can. There's a whole world to see out there. And I will see you soon. Bye. Thanks for tuning in.